Hola a todos, welcome to Español, a GCSE and A-level Spanish channel. In today's video, we'll be looking at the GCSE Tense Tower, which includes all the tenses from grade U to up to grade 9, and how to get at each grade the tense you need. Good luck and enjoy the video. Any questions, leave in the comments. Just a quick disclaimer from me before we start. Alongside this video, you should revise any tenses you don't know. They should be on the channel soon, hopefully by January in 2026. This is for guidance only and tells you the tense you should be using at each grade. This is not revision, but instead heavy guidance on how to do well. If you don't know any of the tenses between grade U and 4, revise them. Chances are, if you're watching this, you want to pass. Whether you're a grade 9, 3 student, it is possible to fail if you don't know the basic tenses up to grade 4, so make sure you know them. Let's start with the tense tower. Okay, so the tense tower, as you can see on the right, I will quickly explain to you before jumping into the tenses. So you start at a U and work your way slowly up to a grade 9. The further you go up, of course, the more difficult the tense is, but the higher you go, the closer you are to perfection and the closer you are to achieving that prestigious grade 9. Everyone should watch this video to the end, whether you're a U student aiming for a 4 or a grade 7 student aiming for a 9. As on each section, there is sentences using the tenses you can steal for your exam, and also guidance. If you're aiming for a 4, but include the grade 9 sentence, the examiner will be very impressed, and although you might think you've got a 4, just that one phrase could have bumped you up to a 5, so it's very important you watch to the end. There will be exam tips at the end of this video. This slide will take me 5 seconds to do. Grade U, no tenses needed, you know none of the tenses, and you can't use any of the tenses in your exam. There are no tenses needed to get a grade U, and hence you can progress to grade 1 with no prior tense knowledge. Grade 1, present tense regulars. You can conjugate very basic present tense and only regulars. You cannot conjugate any irregulars. That is the next grade. Example sentence of this is: Yo estudio español todos los días. I study Spanish every day. To move on to grade 2, you can make basic regular present tense sentences. Grade 2, present irregulars and the future tense. You can make sentences in the present tense, both regulars and irregulars. Also, you can use the future tense. Example of a present irregular tense: Ella tiene dos perros en casa. She has 2 dogs at home. Example of a future tense is: Mañana vamos a ir al cine. Tomorrow we are going to go to the cinema. To move on to grade 3, you should be able to use the future tense and present irregular tenses. Sorry about the typo there. At this point, you should be confident in the present tense. Grade 3, preterite irregulars. You have confidence in the present and future tense, and now also the regular verbs for the preterite tense. Example 1 of the preterite regulars is: Ellos decidieron estudiar más. They decided to study more. Example 2, yo bailé en la fiesta. I danced at the party. To move on to a grade 4, in order to pass your exams, you need to understand all 3 tenses. Are you ready for the big moment? Congratulations, you've passed your GCSE. If you can use 3 basic tenses confidently, recognize them, and know what each of them mean, you should pass your GCSE. If you can provide 3 examples in your essays, there is no reason why you should not pass your GCSE. You will have understood most of the grammar points, you will have understood a big chunk of the content, and hence you can pass the GCSE with 3 tenses knowing. Of course, do you want to pass or do you want to go further? That is the question. I always recommend going further. So, an example of an irregular preterite is: hice mis deberes. So that comes from the verb hacer. So that means I did my homework. If you show 3 examples of each present, preterite and future in your 80-word essay, congratulations, you should pass your GCSE exam. And finally, you can move on to grade 5 with consolidation of the present, past and future. I would recommend that if you are on foundation at this point, you make sure that you can write an essay using present, past and future. Although it may annoy your teachers, give them an essay, see if they'll mark it for you. They should. If not, send me an email, I'll have a look at it. But you should be able to use all 3 of these tenses. The next tense is broadening knowledge. So you've now confidently consolidated the past, present and future tense. Now things start to get a little bit tricky as we use the imperfect tense. So just a little note there, you will not get confident with the imperfect until about a 7, and you'll understand when we get to a grade 7. The imperfect is another past tense, but it's things you used to do or did over a period of time. An example sentence: jugaba fútbol con mis amigos. So I used to play football with my friends. So you did that over a period of time, but you've now stopped it. To move on to grade 6, you should have a basic understanding of the imperfect tense. However, just very quickly, before we move on to grade 6, this is higher tier only content from this point. Imperfect is also higher, so make sure, well, everything is higher on here, but imperfect can also be seen in foundation and used in foundation. So foundation, you should keep watching for sentences to steal for the exam. Higher, pay close attention as the next tenses are what change your game. Is another typo. These are what change your grades. You must make sure that the more tenses you know, the higher chance you have of getting a high grade. But make sure you are confident with them. So once again, all these tense videos on how to form music should be released by January 2026. Grade 6, near future. You should have a basic understanding of the imperfect tense. You are now starting to broaden your tense knowledge. This is the will future tense. You may have done it in class, you may not. So an example is iré a mi ciudad. So I will go to my city. So you could then go on by saying an infinitive. So iré a mi ciudad, comprar, so to buy, whatever you want to buy. Just make sure that you're really careful with iré or whatever it is and the endings. They're all the same endings, whether it's AR, ER, or IR. To move on to grade 7, which is where the imperfects will be helpful, your tense knowledge is broadening and you can confidently use the near future, and you should have experience of the imperfect. It will come in handy for the next tense. Right, the grammar reveal, keep going on about it. Grade 7 is the conditional. You are confident with the imperfect, near future, and conditional. Your tense knowledge is broad. You know how to recognize the main tenses. The conditional is another future tense, but this one is talking about would, whereas near future is will, conditional is would. The main example is me gustaría plus an infinitive. So I would like infinitive. So me gustaría ir, I would like to go. Yeah, you can use anything with that. If you have any questions, may say so in the comments. To move on to grade 8, you are confident with all tenses up to this point, the main GCSE tenses, and are ready to learn more tenses to impress the examiner. That's what we're going for with the grade 8 and 9. Please note the reason why I kept going on about conditional and imperfect is conditional is the same, but you have the infinitive plus the ending, whereas with imperfect, you only have the endings. You do not need the AR, ER, or IR. So just be very careful in the exam, as adding the end of the sentence, so AR, ER, or IR, can change the meaning. So you could be saying, when I was younger, I would play. You know, it's a little bit of clarity there lacking. You don't want to lose marks for that. Grade 8, congratulations. You know all tenses up to grade 7 with confidence and know how to recognise and use them. You now can use another past tense to impress the examiner called the perfect. This is a bit different. Again, this is more extra stuff which you should be doing. So these are things that have been done. So an example of this is siempre he tenido. I have always had. So siempre he tenido un sueño. I've always had a dream. So things like that. And I'll just put a second example here for you guys. He comido. So I have eaten. See, when you say comí, so I ate something, you could have just said he comido. Bear in mind, you've gone from a grade 3 sentence there up to a grade 8 sentence just by changing, how you say it. So just be careful on the context of the sentence because it's very easy to go wrong. Although it's impressive, just be very careful. Some people say this is easier than the other sentences. I personally think it's hard because if you mess up the context of the sentence, it doesn't go well for you. And finally, to move to the top of the ladder, the creme de creme, and achieve that grade 9, you must be fluent in all tenses up to grade 7. You should have also broader knowledge on things like the perfect tense. And finally, congratulations, you've reached grade 9s. You have mastered GCSE Spanish. Well done. You know all tenses, and there are to know, and attempt to use subjunctive phrases to blow away the examiners. You can also combine tenses in sentences, which is actually quite a hard skill to do at GCSE, more A-level focused. So yeah, grade 9 is all about the present subjunctive, so set phrase, I'll give you a couple, and consolidation and mastery. The subjunctive is crucial to Spanish. You use it in pretty much every sentence in the real world, not a GCSE though, hence why it's at the top. You don't need to know about it or what it is really until A-level, but if you know some set phrases, you're going to blow the examiners away because they're not going to expect it. Obviously, don't use it out of context. Don't be silly with how you use it because you can easily lose marks. So my first example for you, the example I think I used in every single essay I've ever written since I found out about this. Si fuera posible, sería un sueño hecho realidad. Just so you all know, and I will write it on there. That little n should have a squiggly on top. So sería un sueño hecho realidad. So if it were possible, it would be a dream come true. Ir a la Universidad de Barcelona, to go to the University of Barcelona. Um, yap about it. Very good, very impressive. The phrase there, si fuera posible, you could always use the conditional after si fuera posible. So si fuera posible plus sería. That's present subjunctive plus conditional perfection. You've mastered GCSE, and this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the combinations. I'll also give you another example. So, ojalá haga sol. This is just a set phrase, so I hope it's sunny. I always think that whenever you get a holidays topic, or if you're talking about the environment of what, I will clean the streets. Ojalá haga sol. I hope it's sunny. It's just a very nice phrase. Ojalá isn't really what it means, but that's the best translation we have to English. It shows Spanish. Also, just a little hint in there. If you're really aiming for it, try and get some idiomatic language. So, well done for all the tenses. Let's quickly do some exam tips because this video is dragging 11.5 minutes now, and this video is supposed to be short. So, my exam tips from an ex-GCSE student. So, I did this GCSE. Don't overcomplicate sentences. Sometimes keeping simple is better, as if you make mistakes, you lose marks. I want to be very, very clear by this. If you do not know how to say something 100%, do not say it, as you will lose the marks. They are harsh. GCSE Spanish is not really about accuracy, but to the examiners it is. So make sure you are sophisticated. If you're going to say a conditional or subjunctive conditional phrase, brilliant, but have you included 3 examples of past, present, future? This is what I said at grade 4. If you've not included 3 examples of past, present, future, don't bother with subjunctive conditional because it's a complete waste of your time. The examiners need to know you can do the basics before you start doing something complicated. And if you go for something complicated, be confident with it. If not, don't do it at all. Which is my second point. Don't say anything you're unsure of. If you don't know how to use the tense, don't use it. If this is the night before your GCSE, for the 2026 cohort or 2027, whenever you're watching this, if it's the night before your exam, I wouldn't recommend start learning a tense. I just learn phrases, and even then, be very, very careful when you use them tenses. Always drop a comment if you're unsure. In writing, pick the question you can say the most on, not your favourite question. Common mistake at GCSE, people pick the question because nobody wants to talk about the environment. Even though you can say more in the environment, people pick cities. Pick the environment question if there's more to speak about. Never fall into the trap of doing the one you like the most. Yeah, it may make your 40 minutes of writing a little bit happier. Don't do it. Trust me, you will lose marks if you don't answer the questions. You're losing instant marks. Learn set phrases going into the exam for the harder tenses to make your life easier, and so you know they're correct. So like them subjunctive phrases, if you know them off the top of your head, great. If not, whatever, just do it. Never leave a question blank. Not say anything for speaking. Always attempt to answer the question. The examiner takes everything into consideration. And speaking of that, examiners mark hundreds of papers, so make sure yours stands out. That is enough of me speaking, about 14 minutes into this video. And please like and subscribe and drop a comment if you're unsure. I'll see you in the next video.